an own goal, a penalty, and then a shot that Pato saved straight to the path of Edwards. What a way to lose your first game of the season. I'm going to say well done to Plymouth. I felt that bar 5 minutes of the second half, I thought second half they were the better team. They got more control of the game. They looked more threatening going forward than we did. I know we had our chances in the second half, don't get me wrong, but that was, for me, was over a 5-minute spell around the time we got the equaliser. That really should have at least got us a point, but there you have it. But I didn't. I felt second half Plymouth deserved to win personally. I don't think we were anywhere near at it. I felt like I didn't necessarily disagree with Dan Neil coming back into the team, and I don't think it'll be fair to just say, oh, well, why change a winning team? Well, at the end of the day, Dan Neil is, and I still stand by it, is one of the better midfielders of this division, and I think it's very fair to keep that in perspective. But yeah, I did think Alan Brown was, I've had one thing to slightly criticise Regis Labrie, so it's a fly there, slightly criticise Regis Labrie with. I think Brown was brought on a little bit too late, but at the same time it was 1-1 when he was brought on, so if I was to address the key decisions in the game, apparently Plymouth's penalty wasn't a penalty, but if I'm going to flip it, I don't think ours was a penalty either. I thought ours was pretty soft. Look, everyone knows I think the referees are atrocious in this league, but I thought he was pro for both Plymouth and Sunderland. I didn't think he was particularly good in either camp, really. So, and I've said this when we've been winning games as well, so it's not sour grapes before anyone tries that nonsense in the comments. Like, you know, I've said this when we've won games as well. I stand by it. I don't think the officials are very good. I think the official today was pretty card happy. I thought he was quite keen to give anything that he could. And sometimes when I felt there were clear decisions that should have been blown for, he didn't give them. But that's not an excuse. Like, at the end of the day, I still stand by it. You should be allowed to criticise referees regardless of the result. But I'm not going to let that detract from Plymouth. I thought Plymouth were the better team in the second half. I thought that it's annoying because first half, I felt first half was more like what we're normally like. We had more enough control of the game in the first half. But then obviously while it's 1-0, you don't kill a team off. That's what ends up happening. And it's typical that until the 93rd minute or whatever it was, an opposition player hadn't scored against us in open play, which is just nuts. But no, I think if anything, this is now going to be the first real setback in terms of that we've now lost our first game of the season. We now need to see how we're going to bounce back from it. And again, like I said, this is why I keep a cool head. And I said this when we're winning games, that there's going to be a long season. And I say that right now before people try to lose their minds. It is a long season. We can't just say the season's done after one defeat, because if we do, then for me, quite frankly, that's infuriatingly fickle. And I don't care if you don't like it. Like, for me, I think we need to maintain balance and perspective. But, you know, we've got to make sure we play a lot better than that against Middlesbrough next week. And hopefully Labrie will have them ready on the training ground, raring to go. And we'll see what happens next week. I think we need to play a lot better than we did second half, though. But yeah, well done to Plymouth. It's typical that Rooney's first win has to be against us. Absolutely typical, isn't it? And it seems like the last couple of times down Plymouth, we don't seem to do well there, do we? But the good thing about today, Mundell got a third goal, which is really, really nice to see. So it's back-to-back games that he scored. It's just a shame for me that we threw away 3 points, really. But because we were obviously ahead at half-time, let in 3 second-half goals, albeit one was a penalty. But yeah. It's just so frustrating. Very, very frustrating afternoon. But you know what? We've got to just make sure, we've got to dust ourselves down. And someone near me, when I was watching it in the pub, actually made a very good point. Maybe it's probably you're better off losing the first game as early as possible in the season instead of later on, and then you wait and see what you boys are made of. This is where we're going to see how we're going to bounce back from this. And again, we've got players now that, regardless of how young they are, have had a long number of games at this level. You know, the experience thing for me wasn't a factor, or as much a factor with a lot of people when we're winning. So for me, it shouldn't be a factor when we lose a game, because for me, you've got to look at it both ways. So, end of the day, deserve to get beat, in my opinion, over the second half. But maybe I was watching a different game than everybody else. But yeah, what is there to say? Both penalties I didn't think were penalties. Obviously, typically the winner ends up being a shot that Pato bounces towards Edwards. I still like Pato, by the way. I still think he gets a lot of unfair stick, but that's me. I know there'll be some people who probably blame. You can certainly criticise Pato for that, because I didn't think the shot that came at him was a particularly well hit one. So look, we'll wait and see what happens with that. But anyway, guys, yep, I'll love yous and leave yous, and safe trip back to everyone from that's going from Plymouth, and fair play to yous for getting the win. I thought you deserved it second half. And yeah, if you're watching, sorry, you're not a regular subscriber, then Feel free to like and subscribe. That would mean a lot, and share it around, please. That would be great if you don't mind. And also because I'm trying to get a 6k sub, so if you think I've earned a sub from you, then hit the sub button. I'm going to end it. I'm just waffling at this point. But anyway, guys, I love yous and leave yous. I'll see yous all next week for Borough. And let me know what this is like, by the way, because I've just recently got a new phone this week. Typically, I get a new phone and we lose a game. But yeah, maybe I'll go back to recording on the other one. But let me know if it sounds okay, if it comes across okay, and we'll see. And I'll see yous all next week. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, and how are the lads?